Today's topic, welcome to the world of board gaming. Now, here's your Euro thematic pawn with your movers and your die 5 rollers. Let's get to work. Welcome to TABLEscraps, short discussions about board, card, and tabletop gaming, submitted by the viewing audience and discussed with the viewing audience. Hey there everybody, and welcome to another episode of TABLEscraps, the live streaming show where I discuss a topic about tabletop, board, and card gaming with the live streaming YouTube chat. And today's topic, which is no exception, comes from viewer Daniel Bemis, who says, I've noticed that the slang language of gamers has become a barrier to entry for casual gamers. I myself am put off by the slang of Magic the Gathering and cannot understand what people are talking about half the time. I have seen gamers try to describe games to other people and have watched the eye roll of doom appear when they start using gamer slang, and inevitably people become uninterested and confused. Have you noticed an increase in new language starting to appear within the board game community, and is it gradually becoming a barrier or exclusive trend? Well, this is a very interesting question, and first of all, I think my answer is going to have two parts to it here. First of all is, yeah, I agree. There is definitely, oh yes, most assuredly, there is a slang language to this hobby, like all hobbies have, I'm sure. You know, all vocations, all industries, all professions, all hobbies start to grow this internal language that if you are, the more you are involved with the hobby, the more you will understand this language. And that can definitely be a barrier to entry for newbies. I remember the first time I heard Eurogame, I was like, what Eurogame? What is that a game from Europe? Or no, it's a style of game. Okay. Then they went and sprung Ameritrash on me. It's like, oh, wait, what's Ameritrash? Oh, is that, oh, okay, it's kind of the counterpoint in a way to a Eurogame. Okay, it's a game with more luck, more dice, and more stuff. Then some people went and tried to force Amerithrash on me, replacing the trash with thrash. So, oh no, is this a new thing? Is this a subset of Ameritrash games? Is this a flavor of Ameritrash? Do I have to remember this? Oh no, now it's just another way of saying that is in a way more politically correct, on and on and on and on. And that alone, you know, took like 3 months worth of brain power just to get down. You know, and that, not to mention all of the categories, the genres, the mechanisms, you know, the types of games and other things. You know, AP, having to explain AP to someone can take forever. You really got to stop and think about how you're going to describe AP. That's an AP joke within the description of AP. Thank you very much. You know, so but there's all of these phrases, and for anyone who doesn't know, AP stands for analysis paralysis, which is the inability to play fast because you are just so slow at making the decisions. There's acquisition disorder. There is, you know, these are even slang from other podcasts and stuff. You know, the Secret Cabal has coined, they alone have coined all of these phrases like jumping out of your pants, frothing at the mouth, all of these other things. And so it's not only that the industry itself has created these different slang terms, you know, different segments within the industry, different podcasts, different presenters and stuff. I'm guilty of this too. I tried to coin the phrase dust ornament, a game that just sits on the shelf collecting dust that you don't play, and no one noticed and no one started using it. So yeah, it hurt. So is that bad? Well, no, it's part of the fun of a hobby like this is that we can actually have the opportunities to come up with witty little things. But I do agree, it can definitely become a barrier to entry. And that's why when we explain a new game to someone who's not familiar with it, we want to make sure that we do so in the most accessible manner possible. And that's another point, is that it's not always being mindful of the language. It's also, when you're teaching new people, being mindful of what does and doesn't actually need to be said. What's the minimum information that I need to convey to this person in order to bring them up to speed and not bog them down with unnecessary details? That's another good thing that I think we all as gamers and game explainerists can keep in mind. So let's start looking for some TS hashtags. Gazencha starts us off by saying, domain-specific terminology is an inevitability of expanding hobbies, but as long as you don't use it with people new to the hobby, I don't think it adds a barrier to entry. There we go. There is a comment that matches my own opinion on it so closely that you'd almost think that I read that comment prior to my own description that I just gave. But I didn't. It's just coincidence because Gazencha and I are of the same mind on this topic. Are others of the same mind? Let's find out by putting Barry under the spotlight. And Barry says, slang is for lazy gamers. Ooh. And those who don't care about introducing new players to the hobby. Is slang for lazy gamers? Now, it is true that slang and idioms and metaphor and stuff, that can be lazy language. Definitely can. But is there a place for it? If you are trying to communicate a sophisticated idea and you and a group of people all agree that you come up with slang that does communicate this sophisticated, elaborate idea more concisely and you all understand it, is that truly lazy? Is it something that actually is a result of increased communication and shared thought? But of course can certainly be abused in a lazy manner. But Barry, what I'm trying to say is I like talking to you and I'm hoping that you rebut this because I would be interested in finding out what else you have to say in response to my response. Haha. Now that I've given Barry something to worry about, let's see what's next. Gazencha points out a helpful tool. Stuff like Dice Tower's game terminology explained is hard to say, but is really useful stuff. I believe the Dice Tower does have a video series, where they actually also part of the Dice Tower podcast too. So maybe audio and video, they take the time to actually explain a lot of these common terms. Some of them are humorous in nature, and some of them are just really helpful. So that is really a good resource for someone who's unfamiliar with them. Kabuki mentions, I can understand the dislike for slang that is particular to a hobby or game. I recently saw someone in a Magic game refer to Eternal Witness as Ewit, and after I got past the cringe, I wanted to choke them. Now, I wonder if there are specific categories or genres of games or specific games themselves that actually just lend themselves to that happening more often. Magic, with all of its different cards and all of its different mechanisms and keywords, would definitely be one that would lend itself to that. T2 Volaris says, I learned 2 new ones just last night, describing collectible card game players. Fluffy Bunny, in it for the theme, decks make sense in the universe, and WAC or Wax, winners at all costs, plays overpowered cards and combos regardless of theme. Oh, that's interesting. I know there's also a popular article about several different types of players, like the Timmy, and 2 other types of players. I gave them names and their approach to playing Magic. I hadn't heard of the Fluffy Bunny or the WACs before. I've played with WACs before, but I did not know that they had an actual terminology now. So yeah, it can actually extend from the games into the gamers, which can be dangerous territory, but is actually an interesting side topic about this. Barry says that slang is for the circle of friends. That's a really good point, and something that I think goes back to being mindful of your audience. Yeah, game club, new players, you definitely want to rein it in. I worry that if slang becomes so ingrained in our gaming experience, if we get so acclimated to it that we no longer notice we're doing it. And so is that something that anyone else has noticed, that you find yourself slipping into slang when you don't mean to when it comes to gaming and it becomes a barrier? Is it something that we need to worry about at that level, or is it something that we can turn on or off depending on the group that we're with? Let me know what your experiences on that have been. In the meantime, I'm going to stumble my way onto the next comment, which comes from Christian. When I explain games to a non-gamer, I try to use Danish sub-words because, for instance, co-op would not be something all would know. Something that becomes one person's common verbiage may still be someone else's slang. I mean, co-op. Co-op is a pretty common term now, but for whom? If I was to say, hey, this is a co-op game to my mother-in-law, she would probably still need, what are you talking about? Oh, it's a cooperative game where we work together to solve against the game. It makes me wonder which words are those sleeper words where they are actually still more slang-like than we think they are. I'm sure that we could probably categorize the commonality of each of these phrases, which sounds like a really, really fun way to spend a weekend. Derailer12 says, slang is good for those who understand. More can be said in fewer words. Take into account your audience. I think that not only is useful information, but it's also useful because it further helps to defend against Barry's initial comment. No, I'm not going to just sit here and pick on Barry. For anyone who doesn't know, Barry he's done video work for the Dice Tower. He has a podcast that he does with Berkey from Board Game Theater. He is a fantastic contributor to the board game community, and he lives in Europe, and he's someone that I consider a good friend, and he has an amazing sense of humor. And so if there's anyone who I was going to poke in the eye with my comments, it would be Barry, because he's just a neat guy. Jonathan joins us to say, I have found when I explain a game to new players and say something like, count up your pips, they look at me like I'm a pretentious gamer person. Followed by, what the heck is a pip? That interests me because I would think that pip is not even slang. Pip is a thing. A pip is a spot on a dice, I think, isn't it? I'm going to put a definition of pip right here to prove how right I am. And so, I mean, pip isn't even slang. It's just a lesser known word. So do we need to be careful in even that aspect of our language when introducing new gamers to the hobby? Not only slang words, but the commonality of words? Jonathan, as usual, you've given me something new to worry about. Fane joins us to say, board games are going through a renaissance here in Poland. They're more and more popular, especially now when young people prefer staying at home and play computer games than go out. And board gaming is a perfect excuse to socialize. But still not everyone is fluent in English, so there's a huge demand to make Polish editions of the most popular games. Thank you, Fane. That is actually a very nice little wrinkle in this whole thing, is that slang is also usually language dependent. So English slang and Polish slang are going to, vary widely, potentially. So with slang now, you not only have the barrier to entry, but then you also have the cross-cultural or cross-language barrier potentially for slang. So that's a really interesting aspect of that I hadn't thought of. So thank you very much for bringing that up. And again, something else to worry about. But I'm not worried about Joseph's comment because it is, I think, Shut Up and Sit Down also has a game terms video as well. If not, they should, as most everything is more fun with a British accent. Joseph, I agree, I think you're right, and I agree. If anyone does know of a Shut Up and Sit Down video on this topic, feel free to add a link to it in the comments below. I will happily make sure that YouTube allows that comment to go through and be linked in there because it's a useful, helpful, entertaining tool for all of us. We're going to wrap up by giving Barry one more chance to jump in here by saying, when in a game group, I have been taught games by slang users, which is fine for me, but not my wife. When slang is used, it should only be used by those who know each other. It's very hard to say what you want to say in less than 200 letters. Oh, well, that last part is just about the restrictions of the YouTube comment area, and I'm working on something to see what I can do about that. But anyway, getting back to your actual point. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, how even, like your spouse could be not at the level. And a lot of gamers, really do enjoy when their spouse gets into board gaming as well. It's another hobby that they can enjoy together. And if that slang can be a barrier to even getting your loved ones into the hobby, let alone strangers at a board game club, or people that you see at a convention, or people that you share an elevator with, the people that you really want to share board gaming with, if slang is a barrier to getting them into the hobby, it really should be something that we examine in more detail. And here's how we can do that. We can continue this conversation in the comments below and over on the Pair of Dice Paradise Facebook and Twitter pages at facebook.com/pairofdiceparadise and Twitter, where we are at Dice Paradise. I'd be thankful for any continued conversations on the topic in those locations. And another thing I'm thankful for is the continued support of viewers just like you who have kept episodes just like this, perhaps not exactly like this one, but I've kept these episodes coming by supporting the Pair of Dice Paradise fundraisers over on the PodPledge website. Every contribution helps and is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I've been Chaz Marler, who, along with the YouTube live streaming chat, have been serving up some table scraps. Thanks. I'll talk to you again soon. I remember starting out, the very first time I heard Eurotrash. No, that's not what I heard at all, because that's not actually a phrase. Now I'm making up more new stuff. Let me try that again. That is a good point, and I think that goes... Apparently I'm turning into a turkey today. I'm thankful for any continued conversations on the topic in those locations.